Put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Take.
Now you're more fluent.
Mackinac, he got free!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around the world. What is happening tonight? What's going on with you? How are things? Y'all know what it is when you see me, right? Talk a little bit of basketball, get some insight. We discuss the topics that people don't really want to talk about, the stuff that's really edgy, right? We talk about stuff that people don't really want to discuss. Like, who's the best two guard in the NBA? Who's the top 10 point guards of all time? Like, we talk about we talk about the stuff that the majority of the people, it goes right over their head. Right over their head. So, like, when I say stuff like, I think Karl Malone's the second best power forward in NBA history. What? Yeah, I do think that. Yes. Like, we talk about stuff like that. That's what we do around here. Right? That's what we do around here. And I don't take issue with that. I really don't. Because I know that when we discuss these topics, you'll be more educated. You'll be better for it, right? You'll be more educated. You'll be better for it. You'll understand the game more. You'll be a better debater. Absolutely, man. So I got into this conversation not too long ago, and I thought it was interesting about James and Hakeem Olajuwon and who the best two-way player of all time is. And this was an easy conversation for me. This wasn't something that I was on the fence about. I wasn't thinking, man, this is a tough one. No, it's not. Now, let me preference by saying, if Hakeem Olajuwon is on the board and you pass, you're fired. Let's be clear about that right now. If Hakeem Olajuwon is on the board and you pass on him, you are fired. When I think about a big, not just a big, when I think about a player who impacts the game on both sides of the basketball like he does, it's pretty difficult to find another one. It is really difficult to find another one. And I know for a fact that there are others who impact the game on both sides of the ball. Jabbar impacted the game. Jabbar impacted the game on both sides of the basketball. He was an elite rim protector. He was an elite rebounder. He's one of the few big men in NBA history. I think he averaged 5 assists. I think he averaged 25 and 5 as a big. Him, Webber, Chamberlain. There's only a few guys to do that. So there are plenty of guys who impacted the game on both sides of the basketball. There's not many who are better two-way players or complete players. I don't do the two-way player, because a two-way player is the same as saying a complete player, and that's what Olajuwon is. But in my estimation, as long as I've been watching basketball, as much as I've been studying the game and paying attention, going back and doing my homework on guys like Elgin Baylor, Chamberlain, Walt Bell, as much as I've been doing my homework on these guys, and Jerry West, Rick Barry, Magic, Adrian Dantley, and when I think Adrian Dantley wasn't much of a defender, that's just a bucket getter. But when I think about guys on both sides of the basketball, because you had to play on both sides of the basketball in order to be considered elite. If you didn't, 9 times out of 10, you were just considered a specialist. You was a bucket getter. That's what you were. And for a guy like Olajuwon, who's one of the 5 most complete players that I've ever seen, the most complete basketball player that I've ever seen is James. And I think the gap between him and Olajuwon defensively isn't as far as people think it is. I do think there's a gap. I won't argue that. Olajuwon's a better defender than James. He was better. He was better in the half court. He was a better rim protector. He was a better paint presence. He was better at altering shots. He was better at altering defenses. James was a great transition defender in terms of him chasing guys down, chase down blocks. He didn't I don't think James invented that. I think he recreated it, because Michael Cooper was fantastic at chasing guys down in transition and blocking shots. He was great at that. He wasn't good at that. He was great at that. Dennis Rodman was also great at chasing guys down, particularly in the half court too, right? So with that being said, Olajuwon affected your defense in totality, where he would chase your lead guard in transition. If your lead guard was ahead of the pack, Olajuwon would run him down and chase him away from the basket, allowing his defense to come back and get back into play. Not a lot of bigs, not a lot of players are doing that. His ability to switch, he could play the 5, he could play the 4, he could even play small forwards, which is tough to do. His ability to man the paint, and I don't think that we as a community give the respect we should to rebounding. That's the last line of defense. If you don't rebound, it doesn't make a difference how great the defense was. If you don't rebound, we got to start all over. It's essentially building a house, and then once you put the final brick in, if you don't put the final brick in, we'll push the house over and we'll try again. We'll push the house over and we'll try again. That's why rebounding is so important. And Olajuwon was a fantastic rebounder. James, on the other hand, James's ability to switch and completely disrupt your defense. Because, again, I don't think that the gap was that far between James and Olajuwon. I do think that there's a gap. But when I think about James's ability to disrupt your defense, how he deals with your point guard. Now, I understand that we live in a time where the pick and roll is prevalent, right? And the pick and roll is at its abundance. James has a difficult time getting around a pick and roll. He has a difficult time getting around screens from time to time. But James is such the competitor, and he's so athletic that he's able to recover when he does get screened. He doesn't die on screens. Not only does he not die on screens, but he gets around screens and recovers. Unlike other guys who weren't able to do that. One-on-one, I think he was a great one-on-one defender. His hands stayed busy. At 6'9", I think he had a 6'11" wingspan, something like that. He was able to completely take your point guard. He was able to completely take your 2 guard out of the offense. Why was he able to do that? Because he was so good at chasing off screens. Not just chasing off screens, but he was also good at closing out as a defender. So I don't think the gap between Olajuwon and James as defenders is that big. It's a gap. I won't argue that. I will not argue that. But offensively, I don't think that the gap is that big between James and Olajuwon neither. What Olajuwon lacked as a ball handler and a distributor, what up, Krev? What Olajuwon lacked as a ball handler and a distributor, he made up for that on the block. He made up for that on the block. He made up for that in the mid-range. He made up for that in transition. He made up for that on the offensive glass. He was fantastic in all of these things. All of them. Now, was Olajuwon a black hole? He could be. And the reason why is because the offense was ran through the big man. The offense was ran through the big man, and 9 times out of 10, when you threw the ball into him, you cut to the basket, there wasn't plenty of action going on. More times than not, it was get the ball into the big guy and let him go to work. Let him go to work, and he did. So when I think about James and I think about Olajuwon, I do think that James is the most complete basketball player that I've ever seen. I think the difference with them is I think James is better. I think he's better offensively, and I don't think that the gap defensively is that close. I mean, it's that far. So when I think about great players, right? When I think about great players, I think about guys. Excuse me. When I think about great players, I think about guys like in today's game, for example. I think about guys who can adapt to the game quickly. Now, I do know that I have to be patient with you, and there's things that we have to work on, and there's things that you're going to get better at. But as long as it's there, and I see that you're able to pick up on this, and I know that you're smart enough, where there's plenty of guys in today's game that I just don't think that they're that smart. I think a lot of them are just bigger, faster, and stronger, and they rely a lot on their athletic ability. They rely a lot on their athletic ability. But the problem is that when that starts to dwindle, they kind of go they go in another direction. Dominique Wilkins is a prime example of that. Like Nick didn't really change with the times. That's why, I mean, even though I think Nick played 16 years, but even with the injury that he was elite for probably 7 or 8 years. He could have been, I think he could have been elite for a little while longer had he been able to change his game and implement more things in his game. Had he done that, and I think the biggest problem with him is that he didn't do that. Now, if I have guys in today's game, I worry about guys like Damian Lillard. And the reason why I worry about guys like Damian Lillard is because guys like Damian Lillard are going to go down in history as being forgotten. And what I mean when I say forgotten, I mean, I mean, if you are a bucket getter, if you are dynamic, if it didn't lead to much, and when I say not lead to much, I mean winning. Not necessarily winning the NBA championship, but winning, right? When you talk when you talking about going deep into the playoffs consecutively, making deep postseason runs pretty regularly, when you're talking about stuff like that, then people, they won't forget you as much, as opposed to like when you are routinely shown the door early, like Tracy McGrady was, you tend to just be forgotten, right? You tend to just be forgotten, and because you tend to be forgotten, all of that stuff that you did, like Damian Lillard being a 6-time All-Pro, 7-time All-Pro. Man, if you played 13 years and half your career you was on an All-Pro team, that's elite. But the fact that you didn't win and you didn't routinely make deep playoff runs, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. That's why the only reason why people talk about Gilbert Arenas, why they do, is because he's on a podcast. Gilbert Arenas had a 3-4 year stretch where he was elite. He was. But it didn't really lead to much. Like Gilbert Arenas didn't make deep playoff runs. Never did he make deep playoff runs. He was routinely shown the door by James. Routinely. He was routinely shown the door by James or Wade. They were bounced in the playoffs. They didn't lose. They were bounced in the playoffs. So, you know, with that being said, right? With that being said, the mantra for people being able to be remembered, as good as you are, you had to dominate, and it had to lead to something. It had to. Otherwise, you're just going to fall into the category of just being one of those players that was just really good. That was just really good. I think in 20 years, people are going to forget about Vince Carter. I think in 20 years, we're not going to talk about Vince Carter nearly as much. We're not. We're going to talk about Ray Allen way more. We already know that. We're still going to talk about Bryant. We're still going to talk about Jordan. But we're not going to talk about Vince Carter nearly as much. And the reason why is because all of the stuff that he did, it didn't really lead to much. It just didn't. as a player. It didn't lead to much. Now, was he elite? I mean, 2 All-NBA teams in 22 years. Yeah, I think he was good. I think he was good, but it's difficult, right? I feel like with him, he could have been better. He could have been a better two-way player. He could have been a better offensive player. Now, damn, yo, I averaged 26 a game for like 7 years. Right. So you were a super freak athlete. And you were a bucket getter. Excuse me. You were a bucket getter. So I won't argue that 100%. So was he better than do I think about Vince Carter the way I think about Bryant, about Ray Allen, about George Gervin? No, I don't. I don't think about Vince Carter like I think about Jordan, like I think about Bryant, like I think about Wade, like I think about Drex, like I think about Reggie Miller. I don't think about Vince Carter like that. I don't. And the reason why I don't is because a lot of that stuff you did, it was empty. It didn't lead to much. And we live in I feel like we live in and rightfully so. You know, winning matters. Winning 100% matters. I care about winning, right? I 100% care about winning. And because I care about winning, right? Because I care about winning, I know how hard it is to win. So with that being said, I know for a fact that you need some things to go your way. But with these things, in addition to these things going your way, you still need to be who you are. You still need to be elite. Now, I'm pretty confident that I'm pretty confident that Damian Lillard is still going to be talked about at this time, right? At this time, I still think he's going to be talked about. But if he doesn't win, he's going to be forgotten. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be forgotten, and unfortunately, that's how that goes. Hi, Kenny. Peace, Chip. Peace, God. Hi, Kenny. He's just going to be forgotten. Now, Jay wants me to talk about that the Knicks have the deepest roster in the NBA. Like, nobody can counter what they do as a unit. Nobody has what they have. Nobody. Everything that the Knicks have is better in terms of their sector, in terms of from 6 to 10, is better than everybody else's. I disagree with that. I don't think that they're deeper than Boston. I don't think that they're deeper than Oklahoma City. I don't think that I don't think that they're deeper than Minnesota. I don't think that they're deeper than them. I do think that they've upgraded their roster and they've gotten much better. At that point I won't argue. You won't get an argument out of me at all in that aspect. No. You will not get an argument out of me in that aspect. However, there are teams that have deep rosters that are better, like the Celtics, for example. So with what Boston, despite everything, and I know that we live in this NBA that we live in, where what you do right now matters. I get that part, 100%. I get that part. But with that being said, this is where the belt is. And all the Boston Celtics did was run it back. That's what they did. They ran it back and said, yo, beat us. Beat us. We don't think y'all can do it. We don't think that you can do it. We do not think that you guys can beat us. No. We don't think that you can beat us. Tribe, if you've never watched the Boston Celtics, if you don't think that Sam Hauser is a player coming off that bench, you have never watched the Boston Celtics. If you have watched the Boston Celtics, I can promise you would have a lot more to say about them and their rotation than you do right now. Because there's no way you watch them and you think that Pritchard, if you think that Pritchard and Al Horford are their only real players, even though Al Horford is long in the tooth. There's no way you think that. You can't. You can't think that. Considering what they have in their rotation with Al Horford, with Peyton Pritchard, with Sam Hauser, I don't think Precious Achiuwa is that far away from Xavier Tillman. I don't think so. I do not think so. And I think Keita is one of the better backup bigs in the game. 100%. I think that Luke Cornett is definitely serviceable. 100% he is. So, I mean, when you're talking about rotation guys, right? When you're talking about rotation guys, I think you're doing a disservice to the Celtics. But back to what I was talking about when I was talking about guys just being forgotten. And in today's game, we live in an age of information being accessed like we've never have. So we could go back in 20 years. Even today, we could go back and watch your games from 10 years ago. We could go back and watch your games from 15 years ago. We could do that. So in 15 more years from now, when Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook and all of these guys are gone, right? When we do that, when those guys are gone, we're going to be able to go watch your games even more than we did in the past. Now, I'll tell you what we can't do is we can't just rely on the box score. We can't do that. No, because if we rely just on the box score, there's plenty of guys that I can bring up and go, yo, this dude was fantastic 20 years from now. Like Damian Lillard is going to look 20 years from now. If you run down from 2014 to like 2022, Damian Lillard is going to look like he was better than Clyde Frazier. But if you go watch him and you watch his game and you put that production with it, then you can come up with a better assessment as opposed to, yo, this dude averaged 26 a game and 7 assists. He was awesome. He was awesome. But there were some holes. There were some holes, and those holes were undeniable in his game. Undeniable. That's why I'm not a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks as much as I'm a fan of Giannis, and I think that Giannis, who is in his prime, is in his prime, still, I worry about those non-contact injuries. I do. They really scare me. And what he is going to have to do this season defensively for that crew, not to say that Giannis can't be a great defender, because he 100% can. 100% he can. He's proven time and time again that as an all-league defender, as a complete player, because I think Giannis prided himself on that. He's proven that he is that. Oh, 100% he's proven that. However, where he is now, with him getting hurt, not only with him getting hurt, with him mentally, because I saw him 2 years ago where his mid-range was respectable. I see him in the offseason working on that shot, and it goes in. Why doesn't it go in more often in the game? And I attest that to it's upstairs. It's not the muscle memory isn't there. He's one of those guys where if he doesn't see it go in immediately, he gets thrown off the track. He's one of those guys. He's not like Bird, where if Bird missed the shot, the next one's going in. The next one is going in. If Bird missed 2 in a row, I promise you the next one's going in. The next one is going in. He's not like KD, who will miss 2 or 3 shots and all right, the next one's going. He'll stay engaged like that. You can get him off of his pivot if that happens. Now, him as a distributor, I already know who Giannis is. Giannis is one of the better playmakers in the game. 100% he is. But he also has flaws in his game. So Giannis is another one of those guys who 10 years from now, how are we going to be talking about Giannis if he doesn't win anymore? Because I watched him win the NBA championship in 2021, and I got people telling me, yo, he better than Malone. I'm like, God damn. How the hell we get here? How the hell did we get here? Really? I mean, don't get me wrong. I care about, I 100% care about winning. Hell yes. Winning matters to me. 100% winning matters to me. But you still got work to do, man. You still got work to do. You got work to do, brother. Hell yeah, you got work to do. You're not going to sell me the logic that a dude had a 2 or 3 year stretch where he was awesome. That's good enough. That's good enough. Hell no. Hell no. I ain't doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Hell no. I will not do that. I'm not trying to hear that. And I will die on that hill. I 100% will die on that hill. I am not trying to hear that. Because when you're telling me that a guy in Giannis who had I don't know, I'm thinking peak Giannis was probably 18 to 22. That was peak Giannis. That was the league MVPs. That was the defensive player of the year. That was the championship Giannis. That was the championship Giannis. So that was probably a 3-year, 3.5 year, 4-year stretch. You're not gonna sell me that in them 4 years. What about in between that? Because this is about the complete resume. That's because what you can't do is now you can't sell me that, okay, I did this in these 4 years, right? I did this in these 4 years, and in these 4 years, whatever I do after that, if I'm good, it doesn't matter. No. That's why I think about a guy like Giannis, and I think in 10 years, if he doesn't win anymore, like what's the narrative going to be on Giannis? How are we talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo? I have him right outside the top 5 of power forwards. I don't have him in the top 5, not yet. I don't have him ahead of Barkley, even though Barkley played in a different time. I don't have him ahead of Barkley, but I feel like for what he did in them 3 years, if he could continue doing what he's doing, to be honest with you, I don't think he's got to win again. I don't think he has to win again. But I feel like if he continues doing what he's doing, I'm still an all-pro. I'm first team all-pro over the next, he's 30 years old. If he makes the all-pro team, first team 3 more times, that'll be 9 years as an all-pro. Right, that'll be 9. He's already a 6 or 7 time all-pro. And I think he made first team, 5 of those years? 5 of those 7 years he's been first team, or 4 of those 7 years he's been first team. if he does that, and if I can get 3 more of those seasons from Giannis, where he's at the top of the league, where he's at minimum a top 5 player, then we can have a different conversation. But I mean, he still ain't part of the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club at the 4 spot. That, I mean, I feel like that's the key to getting in. If you ain't there, like that's one of the major components to have. If you don't have that, I mean, the championships, the MVPs, all right. I got a league MVP. I got one too. I got 2. I'm a defensive player of the year. Okay, I was first team All NBA, right? But there's an entry point for the 4-man in the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club. You got to be a member of that before, right? Before I talk about you and I talk about all these other dudes. Before I talk to you, I mean, before I talk about you and these other dudes, you got to do that. You have to. You 100% have to. Because Bob Petty did it, and he did it in the 60s. That was 60 years ago. Barkley did it. Malone did it. Duncan did it. KG did it. Dirk did it. Duncan did it. That's right there. That's the key to get in here. Now, where you sit at, that's different. I think where you sit at the table is different. But to get in the room, this is what you got. You have to have this on your resume. If you ain't got that on your resume, nah, B. Because when I see that you're a member of the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club, what that tells me is that you did it for a long time. Longevity matters to me. It might not matter to a lot of you other guys. That shit matters to me. I care about you being awesome for a long time. Anybody can go on a run of 2, 3, 4 years where they're awesome. Anybody can do that. The question is can you be awesome for a decade? That's my question. Can you be awesome for a decade? Excuse me. And not only can you be awesome for a decade, what did you do in that time? What happened during that time that I could say, yo, this dude was fantastic? I mean, you could be great for 3 or 4 years, but I'm confident that when you fall out, like the fall off, that's why Russell Westbrook is going to be remembered more, because Russ didn't fall off that cliff. Russ was awesome for a long time. What happens when the decline happens? What happens when you start to go the other way? What am I comparing you to? Yo, I had a 3-year stretch where I won the league MVP twice, and I was the defensive player of the year, and I won the NBA championship. That's great. I love that. What else did you do? Okay, that's all that matters. No, it's not. No. That's not it. That's part of it. That is part of it. That's like going to the DMV. You go to the DMV and the lady asks you, yo, I need this. I need you. You got your social security card, right? You got your social security card. You got your insurance. You don't have your driver's license. So she don't know who you are. That's part of moving forward in the process. That's part of it. If you don't have that, sorry, can't move you forward. No. And I won't move you forward. I'm not doing that. No. I can't. The 4-man, the 2 guard, the point guard, the lead guard, the 2 guard, the small, the power, and the 5, they all have different jobs. I don't subscribe to this. I don't subscribe to this. I don't subscribe to this positionless basketball. I don't. I can't. And the reason why I don't is because you're taking away from, I feel like you're taking away from what my job is. We all have a job to do out here. We're not just out here, excuse me, We're not just out here free flowing. No, we all have jobs. Don't get me wrong. Joker employs point guard duties. Yeah, he does. I still got a job as the 5-man, though. I still got to protect the paint. I still have to rebound. That me handling the basketball, that's in addition to what I already do. That's an addition to what I already do. So when I see guys who have expanded their games, but what their actual job is, they're not where they should be at it, that's where I have an issue. I'll give you an example. Draymond Green is fantastic at his job. Draymond Green is fantastic at his actual job, which is at the 4 spot. I'm the dirty work man. I got to get on the glass. I got to defend. I'm the anchor. He is fantastic at that. His role got expanded as the point forward because the offense got changed. And we're going to put the ball in Draymond's hands. He improved his ball handling. He improved his IQ. He improved being a distributor. So with him doing that, that's in addition to what I already have to do. All right, so what do I already have to do? I'm 6'6", 6'7". I play the 4. I got to guard at the long ball line because that's what 4 men do. But I also got to get on the glass too. I got to defend at the 4 spot. Can you do that? If you can't do that, right? If you can't do that, the fact that you won, I can't talk about you like I talk about other dudes. No. You know, I'm on record saying this. I mean, Malone had the misfortune of running into Jordan, unfortunately. Right? Malone had the misfortune of running into Jordan, unfortunately. He also had the misfortune of running into Olajuwon. That's the downside. He was able to get over the hump and beat Olajuwon. He did do that, yes. But I had the misfortune of running into Jordan, just like a whole bunch of other people did. So we talk about these dudes a little bit differently, just a little bit. But he definitely, right? He definitely has the keys to get in that room. Yes. When you see that door open, he walks in there and, hey, what's up, big fella? Have a seat. Now, where he sits, that's different. That's completely different. But he's definitely got one of the keys, right? He definitely has one of the keys to sit down in that room. No doubt about that. And I applaud that. Sure. I definitely applaud that. So that's that. Now, I will tell you this, right? I will tell you this. I think a lot about what the game is going to look like in another 10 years. And the reason why I think that is because how much the game has changed just over the last 5 years. Like the game isn't the same as it was in 2018, 2019. The game is much more wide open. You see a lot more big guys handling the basketball on the perimeter, playing in the mid-range, stopping, popping, playing at the long ball line, but also playing on the block. Joker, Giannis, Embiid. You see big guys doing this. Cat. That wasn't going on, right? That wasn't going on as much 5 years ago as it's going on today. So when you see the big man like Bam, who I think is a 4-man, but he plays the 5 at 6'9", Bam, stopping, popping, transition. Who I think when I think about how much better Bam can be, not just as a defensive player, how much better he can be offensively. With that being said, I think he's a 20 and 10 guy. He may give me a 23 and 11 season. He may do that. I won't argue that. Yeah, he may give me a 20. He may give me a 23. I think he can give me a 23 or a 24 and 11 season. I think he can give me that. But who he probably is, he's probably a 19 to 21 a game guy. He's probably a 9 to 11 rebound a game guy. That's who he is. That's why I go, right? That's why I go when I say by year 5, this is probably who this guy is, because that's what I'm going off of. When I see you by year 5, this is probably, I see you for what you are. And I see the trajectory. Now, I think where the divide comes when I talk to people is a lot of people see or they hear year 5 and they think he's not going to get better. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying, though, is this is probably what you should expect moving forward. Now, does that mean you're not going to get a better season? You're not going to get 2 better seasons? No, that doesn't mean that at all. But what you see here, this is probably who this guy is. I don't think he's less than this. He may be a little bit more, but this is probably who he is. So I came up with that theory by watching quarterbacks in the NFL. And 9 times out of 10, when I see a guy in year 5 that's 3,600 yards, if he's been in the system for a while, he's 3,600 yards. In addition to 3,600 yards, he's 31 touchdowns. That's probably who he is. That's him. Now, would I get a 4,200 yard season and 35 touchdowns? Yep. That's not him, though. That's not what you should expect moving forward. No. No. This right here, this guy, 3,600 yards, 3,800 yards, 25, 30 touchdowns, 12, 14 interceptions. That's probably who he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. So when I see Bam, Bam showed up in 17. So we're in year 7 now. And I think 2 years ago, I think Bam was at 19. I think Bam was at 19 and 8, 19 and 9. Yeah, so that was year 5. That was 2 years ago. 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22. So in the 22 season, bam, that was year 5 with him, right? And he's been in this system with the Miami Heat for the majority of his career. So in year 5, who is Bam? He's 19 and 10. 19 and 10. That's probably who he is. And I think that I could get, like I said, I think I could get a 21 or 20. I think I can get a 21 to 24 game season or 2 out of him. I think I could get an 11, maybe 12 rebound season out of him. Maybe 2 seasons out of him. That's not who he is, though. That is not who he is. That's extra. That's more. That guy in year 5, this is the guy who he is. You're going to get better seasons. This is what I think where the divide comes with my logic is people don't understand that guys have a peak. Okay, guys have a cap. Guys aren't going to continuously just keep getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better. No, at some point, right? At some point, we get to that point. I think that point is in year 5. Year 5, that's him. Is he going to get better? He might give you some better seasons, but that's him, though. This is who he is. That's exactly who he is. If I think about Steph Curry, if you go back and do some homework on Steph Curry, look at Steph Curry. Look at Steph Curry in year 5. Right? Who Who was Steph Curry in year 5? Who was he? Steph Curry was a 24-6 guy. That's who he is. Now, did you get some better seasons? Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. He led the league in scoring at, I think, 32 a game. Is that Steph Curry? Is Steph Curry a 32 a game guy moving forward? Steph Curry led the league in scoring and averaged 30 a game. Is that Steph Curry moving forward at 30 a game? No. But that guy that you saw in year 5, that's probably who he is. Whatever you get after that, that's extra. That's on top of it. Jason Tatum is another guy that I'll give you an example. If you go back, Jason Tatum, I think in year 5, he was 27-7, 27-8, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. In year 5. That's probably who he is. He gave you the next year, he gave you a 30 a game. He gave you 30 a game. What did you get out of Jason Tatum last season? I think you got 27 and almost 9 last season. That's probably who he is. So this is what you should expect moving forward. You might get something else. You might get a little bit more, but that's what you should expect moving forward. I think the biggest problem that you guys have with these guys is that you don't think that there's a cap. Eventually, there's gonna be. And I'll give and shout out to my man Johnny in here. Jay, I did the same thing with Jordan in year 5. That's the 88-89 season. Jordan was 33. He was 8-8. What did Jordan finish his career at? He was 30-6-6. So this is what you should expect from this guy. Anywhere between 30 and 33 a game for his career. Now, you're probably going to get some better seasons. You might not. Now, don't confuse, right? What I don't want you to confuse. I don't want you to confuse a guy who averages more points. That means he had a better season. No, that's not necessarily true. No. Because Jordan in 91, he averaged 31 a game. And he was better than that dude in 89. Just like in 89, he averaged 33 a game. He was better than that dude in 90 who averaged 35. He was better than him. 100% he was. He was better than that dude that averaged 37. So the point is, when you have a guy that's at that point, right? When you have a guy that's at that point, by year 5, this is probably this guy. And I think where the divide comes in is you guys, my man Jay, he wild as hell with the fake stats. Can we be honest? Can we be honest, God? Right? Can we be honest just for a minute? Because we know that they was cooking the books. I mean, if you can't admit that, right? Even if you are a Jordan lover, right? Even if you are a Jordan lover, if you can't admit that they was cooking the books, then you blind. 100% they was cooking the books. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they wasn't just cooking the books for Jay. They was doing that everywhere. Yes. And understand why this was. You know, I'm a reporter for the Houston Chronicle. I can't watch Chicago Bulls games, all of them. I can't. Why? Because I'm covering the Houston Rockets. So in 1988, when I open up the newspaper, because we don't have the internet, we don't have instant access like this. We don't. So in 1988, when I open up the newspaper and I see that, Jordan had 6 steals last night. Damn. I'm not thinking, yo, I got to go watch that game. No, I got a defensive player of the year vote. I'm thinking, if this keeps up, he might be the defensive player of the year. I open up the paper a couple of nights later and Jordan had 3 blocks last night. Wow. I'm not knowing that he really only had 2, but he had a deflection, so they marked that down as a block. And they did the same thing with Olajuwon. Same thing. So I'm saying they were cooking the books. 100% they were. I won't argue that. 100% they were cooking the books. But my logic on being who you are by year 5 does not mean that you won't get better. Right? It doesn't mean that you won't get better. What it means is moving forward. This is probably him. Right? This is probably who this guy is. And it's okay. And if we can accept that with moving forward with this guy, I can tell you right now, man, I promise you, you guys will be a lot happier. I'm sure of it. I'm not on the fence about that. I'm sure of it. So I know I know that it's a lot to ask. So they can't do it as much today, John. And the reason why the reason why they can't stat pad as much today is because like we have access to these games, so we can fact check you. Like we didn't have in 1988. If you had not many people had a satellite, and they had all the Bulls games televised. Not many people had that, so you couldn't go right. You couldn't go. You couldn't fact check in 19. I'm an example of this when I've said in the past that I wish I could have seen Stockton more than I did. I would have loved to have seen him. We don't have NBA TV. We don't have ESPN covering games. We don't have TNT covering games like that. There are games on TNT because the playoffs was on TNT, but we don't have the only teams that was on TNT was if the Phoenix Suns was on TNT, that's because they was playing the Lakers, right? If Atlanta was on TNT, that's because they was playing Boston or the Bulls, right? They weren't on TV nearly as much. We live in a different age where you can, the age that we live in, the information age that we live in, the access to information that we have is unlike any other time that we lived in. So you can now fact check. So you can't pull the wool over my eyes and tell me that this dude did this and I can't go, I can go check that. Did he really have 22 assists? Did he really have 17 rebounds? Let's go check that out. Let's go see that. Let me, well, wait a minute. They said he had 17 rebounds. That's a tip. That's not a rebound. And it got tipped to somebody else. But he was credited with the rebound. No, that's not a rebound. No, that's not. That's not a block shot. No, that's not. Because it was an air ball does not mean just because he put his hand up and the guy airballed it does not mean he blocked the shot. But guys were getting put down for blocks because they assumed that you blocked the shot when in reality, no, he didn't. He just shot an airball. That's all that was. He just shot an airball. So I feel like we live in the age of information. So because we live in the age of information, we don't have to settle for what you've been told. Oh, you could go back and look. Yes, you could go back and look. And when you go back and look, then you can decide for yourself. So I want to holler at my man, Big Fan Breezy, real quick and check my man temperature. What up?
Chilling. What's good, Chill? How you doing, man? Chilling. Just letting you know, man, I'm still doing the due diligence. Still, you know what I'm saying, tweeting Dr. J every day. I have not gotten a response. I mean, I am Big Fan Breezy. You would have think that he responds to me by now. I'm kidding. But
he should. He should.
Hopefully, you know, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I responded to when I tweet him. I tweet him the clip. I don't know if he's actually tapping a link to look at what was said between us. So I'll put a quote on top of the tweet now saying this is regarding X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
But I said all that to say that you're absolutely right. Now, the Nets got 5 national games. So there's going to be a lot of people talking about Cam Thomas and how I'm glazing and all this and that. But I just got to say that I watch 99% of the games. If I'm not watching, it's because I'm busy and I got to listen in. You know how that goes sometimes.
I do.
So I'm saying that to say that I actually watch his game. I watched last season how he wasn't the first guy we were running the offense through, and he was the second, third option, and they put him in the corner, making him the third option, and he wouldn't get the ball until there was less than 14 to 10 seconds on the clock, giving him grenades and so on and so forth. So
you gotta hurry up now.
Right. So right. So I'm saying all of this to say that these narratives that was spun last season about who he was because Mikal Bridges was there, I think that it doesn't serve him justice. But I seen your list, and not only your list, I seen 3 lists where he's he's the number 15 player in the league. Guard. I'm sorry. Yes, two guard in the league. Yep. And I don't have much pushback because there's not enough. I need more to see from him myself. I need to see him as the number 1 option, but I'm coming up here with a hot take. My hot take is that he cracks the top 10 in scoring this season. He's going to crack, and I checked. 2 things I want you to know. One, Cam Thomas verbatim say he want to score 25 points per game this season.
Yep.
And the top 10 scorer last season, I think it was Jokic, and he was averaging 26.2 points. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Cam Thomas is going to average more than 25. I think he averages between 28 to 31 points. And I'm not going to jump out and say that he's going to be a top 5 scorer, but I'll give him top 10 scorer. So I just wanted to, see how you felt about what I said because of what you said about how a lot of the fans are not going to be able to see him. And if y'all don't know, that's a big deal, whether you on national games or not. Because I'm gonna get the Yes Network and I'm gonna watch all of the game. I'm gonna make sure that's what I'm gonna do. I vlog the Brooklyn Nets. I recap their games. So, but to your point, like player's choice, you guys on the panel, y'all watch a plethora of games.
That's what I do.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Word. So it's like y'all could have a spill on more than one player and be accurate. You feel what I'm saying? When I tune into the player's choice, I'm listening to a lot of the content that I might even say on my channel is because I'm listening to y'all because I know y'all actually watching the games.
Right.
And I'm saying that to say I'd rather listen to y'all and get takes from y'all opposed to watching box scores and saying that this play is this, that, and the third based on what I've seen from a box score.
So
I'd rather take that account from a person.
So you figure, Breezy. So Joker was 10th in the league in scoring last year. He averaged 26 a game.
Yeah.
That's what the 10th leading scorer in the game averaged. And Anthony Edwards was right behind him at 26 a game. He was 25-9. That's 26. So they was averaging around the same. Him and Joker. So when you think about the guards, so Luka, Shea, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Curry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 scorers in the league were guards. Right? 6 of the top 10 scorers in the league were guards. As far as the two guard is concerned, you figure Devin Booker. Let's see, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards. Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards were the 2 guys in terms of shooting guards that were in the top 10. And Anthony Edwards literally was right outside the top 10 at 26, at 25-9. That's 26 a game, basically. I'll stamp it. But for Cam to average 25 a game, 26 a game, for Cam to average 26 a game next year and be in the top 10 in the league in scoring, that would be a big deal. That'd be a big deal, Breezy. It would be.
Yeah,
It would
he
be.
going in, he going into, not to be long-winded. I know you finna close out. He going into his contract year. He already spoke about his contract. He basically said, "I ain't tripping off none of that." And the reason why I know he not is because when it's time for him to sign him, Ben Simmons come off the books. That's 40 million off the books.
Yep.
Easier to negotiate with the Brooklyn Nets after $40 million come off of the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think that's part of the reason why I think he wants to average such a high PPG, so that way, contract time he could, negotiate. He got some elbow room at that negotiating table.
It's gonna be hard to sell less dough for a dude that's a top 10 scorer in the league. You're gonna have to come off some bread for that. You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to come off some bread for that. But don't get me wrong. I mean, it's other bucket getters in the league, but in a league full of high-powered scoring, to be able to say it's only 9 dudes in the league that average more points a game than I do. I need to see something for that. I do.
Yeah, nah.
I need to hold something for that. So no doubt. So Breezy, I
Right.
know where to find you at, brother. Good to talk to
All
you,
right.
my man.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Phil.
Yes,
All right.
sir. If that's the case, yeah, I definitely need to see some bread for that. I definitely need to see some bread for that. So it's about that time for me though, guys. Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. It was good to see you guys tonight. Y'all know where to find me at. If I'm not here, I'm on a panel 11 to 2 on the Players Choice Network. If I'm not there, if I'm not there, I'm on TikTok 9 a.m. every morning, Monday to Friday. It's called Good Morning NBA. I do it every day, Monday to Friday. And on Fridays, I have Fan Appreciation Day. I only talk to you dudes. I only talk to you guys, right? I don't come up with anything. I don't have any narratives. I don't have any topics. On Friday, I talk to you and you specifically. I don't talk to nobody else. I talk to the fans. That's what I do. And if I'm not there, on Tuesday nights, me and my man Tony Tone, we do our thing on Sports Fluent Network in here on Fluent and Chill. And if that's not going on, me and my man Big Ox, we on Saturday afternoons at 12 o'clock Eastern, we doing Chill with Chill. So I ain't hard to find. I'm not hard to find at all. And I also want to shout out to my man Johnny in here. My man Johnny, he does Goat James Kingdom on Friday nights, 8 o'clock, right here on YouTube. Check him out. That's good stuff, yo. It's real good stuff. And if you miss him on Friday, check him out Sunday, 12 o'clock Eastern. Check him out 12 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. He basically lifts up the curtain on all the Zesties. He lifts up the curtain on all the Zesties, and it's good stuff, man. It is really good stuff. Go check them out. So, because I do. I check them out. So, I will see you guys soon. You know where to find me. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. Well, last time you talk to your mother. Call your mother. I will see you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man.